I pressed the brake pedal too hard, my heart hammering in my chest as the rental car squealed to a halt in front of the gravel drive. The late afternoon sun cast long shadows across the manicured lawn, and for a moment everything felt unreal, as though I were standing on a stage set designed to look like glory. Only, it wasn't glory, it was betrayal. My name is Rosalind Montague, and for years I believed my family's bond was stronger than any secret. I grew up in a quiet suburban neighborhood in Ohio, the eldest of two sisters, our days filled with board games and backyard picnics under the honey locust tree. My parents doted on me, praised my academic accomplishments, and watched me graduate college with tears on their cheeks. A career in journalism followed, and then, after I met Jonathan, the best chapter of my life. When Jonathan enlisted in the Air Force, I stood by him as he went through training, cheered at his promotions, and decorated our home with mementos from his deployments. 2 years ago, we married in a small chapel by the sea in North Carolina, vows exchanged beneath salt-drenched pines, hands trembling, voices cracking with emotion. That ceremony was my anchor. It became the promise that no matter where life carried us, across oceans, beneath distant stars, we would always find our way back to each other. Today, I was driving that promise home. My sister Mariana beat me by 2 years. Wild and free-spirited, she danced to her own rhythm, so it seemed, until I discovered that every step she took was choreographed for maximum applause. From modeling gigs in Miami to designer bags shipped to our childhood home, she cultivated an image of perfection that masked a constant hunger for attention. But I never suspected she'd go this far. I climbed out of the car, smoothing the seams of my blouse, bracing for the warm hug I had pictured in my mind 100 times. Instead, I saw her signature cherry-red sedan parked in the garage, its polished surface gleaming. My breath caught. Mariana never drives her own car here. My pulse quickened. My hand hovered over the garage door opener, trembling. The little cabin we shared with Jonathan was modest, a cozy 2-bedroom tucked into rolling hills outside Fayetteville, windows overlooking a creek that whispered against mossy stones. It wasn't much, but it was ours. I tapped the button, the door lifted with a mechanical sigh. Inside, the morning light slanted through lace curtains, illuminating the living room in gold. I spotted Jonathan's uniform jacket draped over the back of a chair, medals pinned with neat precision. Relief unfurled within me until I heard voices. Soft laughter, feminine, familiar. They drifted through the kitchen archway. My pulse turned to ice. I stepped forward, every nerve screaming to retreat, my hands clenched into fists. I could taste the tang of panic at the back of my throat. "Rosie?" Jonathan's voice called, warm and full of surprise. But it wasn't delight. It held something else. Hesitation. The laughter ceased. I turned the corner. There she stood. Mariana leaned against the kitchen counter, with one hip, ankle crossed. Her hair was pulled back, revealing delicate features that twisted into a smirk. And beside her, in Jonathan's embrace, I saw another woman's face. Emily Cross, Jonathan's communications specialist from the base. Petite, raven-haired, with eyes that fell on me like a challenge. I heard myself gasp. Jonathan's hand slid from Emily's shoulder to my arm, gentle, tentative, then froze. His uniform looked absurd against the domestic backdrop, like a costume half shed. He opened his mouth, his eyes pleading. Mariana's smirk widened. She lifted a manicured finger, brushing a strand of hair behind her ear. "Surprise," she purred. My knees trembled. Words tangled in my throat. A storm erupted behind my eyes, anger, betrayal, heartbreak colliding so fiercely that I felt as though I might shatter in one instant. This wasn't a scene from a movie I could pause, rewind, unravel. This was real life, my life, and it was collapsing around me. I forced my legs to move, stepping backward. The world tilted. I clutched the car door frame for support. Jonathan's uniform jacket crumpled where he had been standing. Emily's eyes flickered. Shame? Triumph? I couldn't tell. Mariana's laughter tinkled again, cold and triumphant, echoing in the silent kitchen. Before we jump back in, tell us where you're from. If this story moves you, please subscribe. Tomorrow, I have a special story for you. My vision blurred as I backed away from the kitchen threshold, every heartbeat echoing like a drum in my ears. The floor felt unsteady beneath my feet, like the ground itself was shifting under the weight of my betrayal. Jonathan's voice followed me, low and urgent. "Rosie, please, let me explain." I clutched my hands to my mouth, stifling a sob that threatened to break free. Explain. How could any explanation unravel this knot of deceit? I turned on my heel and fled through the front door, the screen slamming shut behind me with a hollow thud. The evening air felt cool against my cheeks. Crickets chirped in the tall grass, oblivious to the chaos unfolding just inside the walls. I inhaled a shaky breath, trying to steady myself, but my limbs trembled so violently that I sank to the ground, sliding down against the sidelight beside the door. Tears blurred the edges of my vision. My phone slid from my trembling fingers, clattering against the stone patio. I bit my lip, tasting copper, as I pushed to my feet. Every instinct screamed to leave. Drive anywhere but here, but my legs were leaden, refusing to obey. A car door slammed behind me. I spun, expecting to see Mariana's smug face, but it was Jonathan. His uniform was wrinkled, his tie undone, the gold wings above his heart catching the last glint of sun. He crouched beside me, concern etched into every line of his face. "Rosie, please, just talk to me." I looked up at him, my throat raw. "Talk? After I saw her? After I saw you? With her?" He exhaled, running a hand through his hair. "Emily is in my unit, my communications officer. She's been supportive since I got back from the last deployment, but I swear, Rosie, I never meant for you to find out like this." His words felt hollow, echoing around my chest like empty promises. How many times had I trusted his reassurances? How many nights had I stayed awake, imagining his safe return, believing every vow we made? I shook my head, tears slipping free. "Supportive? Is that what you call it?" He winced. I'm sorry, I never wanted to hurt you." I rose to my feet, brushing dirt from my jeans. "Then tell me why." My voice hardened. "Tell me why she was here." His gaze flicked toward the garage. She needed a place to talk. She's been struggling since Colonel Hayes flagged her for PTSD. My stomach twisted. Military psychologist or not, it didn't justify betrayal. "And so you invited her here? In my home?" He opened his mouth, but no words came. A rustling sound drifted from the garage. My pulse spiked. I turned as the door lifted, revealing two more uniforms, Captain Ortega and Lieutenant Vargas, both mid-level officers from Jonathan's squadron. Their faces were grave. "Sir," Captain Ortega said, stepping forward, "we need to talk." My vision blurred as I backed away from the kitchen threshold, every heartbeat echoing like a drum in my ears. The floor felt unsteady beneath my feet, like the ground itself was shifting under the weight of my betrayal. Jonathan's voice followed me, low and urgent. "Rosie, please, let me explain." I clutched my hands to my mouth, stifling a sob that threatened to break free. Explain. How could any explanation unravel this knot of deceit? I turned on my heel and fled through the front door, the screen slamming shut behind me with a hollow thud. The evening air felt cool against my cheeks. Crickets chirped in the tall grass, oblivious to the chaos unfolding just inside the walls. I inhaled a shaky breath, trying to steady myself, but my limbs trembled so violently that I sank to the ground, sliding down against the sidelight beside the door. Tears blurred the edges of my vision. My phone slid from my trembling fingers, clattering against the stone patio. I bit my lip, tasting copper, as I pushed to my feet. Every instinct screamed to leave. Drive anywhere but here, but my legs were leaden, refusing to obey. A car door slammed behind me. I spun, expecting to see Mariana's smug face, but it was Jonathan. His uniform was wrinkled, his tie undone, the gold wings above his heart catching the last glint of sun. He crouched beside me, concern etched into every line of his face. "Rosie, please, just talk to me." I looked up at him, my throat raw. "Talk? After I saw her? After I saw you? With her?" He exhaled, running a hand through his hair. "Emily is in my unit, my communications officer. She's been supportive since I got back from the last deployment, but I swear, Rosie, I never meant for you to find out like this. His words felt hollow, echoing around my chest like empty promises. How many times had I trusted his reassurances? How many nights had I stayed awake, imagining his safe return, believing every vow we made? I shook my head, tears slipping free. Supportive? Is that what you call it? He winced. I'm sorry, I never wanted to hurt you. I rose to my feet, brushing dirt from my jeans. Then tell me why. My voice hardened. Tell me why she was here. His gaze flicked toward the garage. She needed a place to talk. She's been struggling since Colonel Hayes flagged her for PTSD. My stomach twisted. Military psychologist or not, it didn't justify betrayal. And so you invited her here, in my home? He opened his mouth, but no words came. A rustling sound drifted from the garage. My pulse spiked. I turned as the door lifted, revealing two more uniforms, Captain Ortega and Lieutenant Vargas, both mid-level officers from Jonathan's squadron. Their faces were grave. "Sir," Captain Ortega said, stepping forward, "we need to talk." My vision blurred as I backed away from the kitchen threshold, every heartbeat echoing like a drum in my ears. The floor felt unsteady beneath my feet, like the ground itself was shifting under the weight of my betrayal. Jonathan's voice followed me, low and urgent. "Rosie, please, let me explain." I clutched my hands to my mouth, stifling a sob that threatened to break free. Explain. How could any explanation unravel this knot of deceit? I turned on my heel and fled through the front door, the screen slamming shut behind me with a hollow thud. The evening air felt cool against my cheeks. Crickets chirped in the tall grass, oblivious to the chaos unfolding just inside the walls. I inhaled a shaky breath, trying to steady myself, but my limbs trembled so violently that I sank to the ground, sliding down against the sidelight beside the door. Tears blurred the edges of my vision. My phone slid from my trembling fingers, clattering against the stone patio. I bit my lip, tasting copper, as I pushed to my feet. Every instinct screamed to leave. Drive anywhere but here, but my legs were leaden, refusing to obey. A car door slammed behind me. I spun, expecting to see Mariana's smug face, but it was Jonathan. His uniform was wrinkled, his tie undone, the gold wings above his heart catching the last glint of sun. He crouched beside me, concern etched into every line of his face. "Rosie, please, just talk to me." I looked up at him, my throat raw. "Talk? After I saw her? After I saw you? With her?" He exhaled, running a hand through his hair. "Emily is in my unit, my communications officer. She's been supportive since I got back from the last deployment, but I swear, Rosie, I never meant for you to find out like this." His words felt hollow, echoing around my chest like empty promises. How many times had I trusted his reassurances? How many nights had I stayed awake, imagining his safe return, believing every vow we made? I shook my head, tears slipping free. "Supportive? Is that what you call it?" He winced. I'm sorry, I never wanted to hurt you." I rose to my feet, brushing dirt from my jeans. "Then tell me why." My voice hardened. "Tell me why she was here." His gaze flicked toward the garage. She needed a place to talk. She's been struggling since Colonel Hayes flagged her for PTSD. My stomach twisted. Military psychologist or not, it didn't justify betrayal. "And so you invited her here, in my home?" He opened his mouth, but no words came. A rustling sound drifted from the garage. My pulse spiked. I turned as the door lifted, revealing two more uniforms, Captain Ortega and Lieutenant Vargas, both mid-level officers from Jonathan's squadron. Their faces were grave. "Sir," Captain Ortega said, stepping forward, "we need to talk." We emerged onto the gravel road, walking briskly. In the distance, the house emitted pale pools of light, flashing strobes from vehicles and torches cutting through the darkness. "What if I can't go back?" My voice trembled. "What if it's not just my heart that's broken, but my entire life?" Claire paused, folding me into a tight embrace. "Whatever happens," she vowed, "we'll face it together." "I'm not letting you go through this alone." Her words wrapped around me, giving me a fragile sense of hope. We reached Claire's car. an older SUV with dense and faded paint, but far more comforting than the sterile vehicles left behind at my home. She opened the back door and helped me inside. "Get comfortable," she said gently. As she pulled away, I saw the house shrink in the rearview mirror, its windows glowing like watchful eyes. Another voice crackled in the distance, deep and authoritative. "All clear. Proceed with recovery." The words cut through me with chilling precision. Claire hit the gas, tires crunching on gravel. The road ahead was a ribbon of darkness, but at least I was moving away. She parked under a streetlight near her small bungalow. Inside, the living room was a warm sanctuary, soft throw blankets, the scent of lavender from a diffuser, and familiar photographs of us on various adventures. I sank onto her couch, burying my face in my hands. "Tell me what I missed," I murmured. Claire sat beside me, taking a deep breath. "After you left, they discovered unauthorized transmissions from this location. Messages that could compromise ongoing missions. Emily and Mariana were caught in the crossfire of an investigation into protocol leaks." My pulse stuttered. "So they're saying I'm involved? That I knew?" I lifted my head, bracing for her answer. Claire shook her head. "They haven't said that yet, but they want to question everyone who had access. That includes you, Rosalind." My heart lurched. "Me?" My voice was barely a whisper. "They can't. I'm not in the Air Force. What do they think I did?" "I don't know," Claire admitted. "But we need to prepare." She stood, crossing to her bookshelf and pulling down a legal pad and pen. "First step, we find out exactly what communications were sent. Then, we talk to a lawyer, military counsel, if possible." My hands wrapped around the pen as she handed it to me. The notebook felt heavy, brimming with questions that demanded answers. Claire's phone buzzed. She glanced at the screen, frowning. "It's from an unknown number, no caller ID." She paused before answering. "Hello? Yes? When?" Her expression shifted from calm to alarm. She mouthed the words, "They found something else." My blood ran cold. "What?" She ended the call, eyes wide. "They've issued a classified restriction on all personnel associated with the base. No one can leave or communicate freely until the investigation concludes." She swallowed. "Rosie, this is bigger than we thought." I pressed my palms to my eyes, the weight of her words pressing down like a vice. The room spun and I felt the old familiar panic rise. Claire reached out, pulling me into her arms. "We'll get through this, but you need to be ready." I nodded, but my mind raced with shadows. Espionage, betrayal, the fear that my life as I knew it was over. A sudden knock at her door jolted us both. Claire's eyes shot to the window, narrowing. "Who is it?" No answer, just another, more insistent rap. Claire stood, placing a protective hand on my knee. "Stay here, don't open the door until I check." She moved to the front door, the soft glow of the hallway light catching the edge of her silhouette. I held my breath. A deep voice, smooth and controlled, reverberated through the wood. "Ms. Montague, it's Captain Ortega. We need to speak with you." My stomach lurched. Captain Ortega, one of the officers who'd secured my home. They'd come here. A decision loomed: open the door and face them now, or barricade myself in safety and risk looking guilty. My heart pounded. Every fiber of my being screamed to run. But I couldn't hide. I rose to my feet as the door began to open. The door swung open with a cautious creak, and Captain Ortega stepped inside, uniform crisp despite the late hour. His face was measured, professional, but his eyes betrayed a flicker of concern as they swept past Claire and landed on me. Behind him, Lieutenant Vargas lingered in the doorway, arms crossed, surveying the room. Captain Ortega's voice was low but firm. "Ms. Montague, we appreciate you allowing us in. May we sit?" Claire rose, offering a place on the sofa. "Of course." I remained standing, tension coiled in my shoulders. My pulse hammered as I watched the officers take seats. Ortega on the couch, Vargas in an armchair, and I braced for the questions to come. Ortega folded his hands on his lap. "Thank you. I won't take much of your time. This investigation concerns unauthorized communications originating from your property. We're required to speak with anyone who had access or was present." His gaze flicked to me, That includes you. A dry laugh escaped me. Me? But I didn't. I mean, I wasn't. Claire reached out, squeezing my arm. Rosie's situation is complicated. Ortega ignored her. Ms. Montague, were you at home this afternoon? I nodded. I returned unexpectedly, but I had no involvement with any communications. He opened a folder, sliding a sheet toward me. We have a transcript of intercepted transmissions, military codes, mission updates, sent from a device connected to your home network at 3:47 p.m. My throat clenched. That's the time I arrived. Vargas leaned forward. Is there anyone else who could have accessed your network? I swallowed. Only family, my husband and sister, and occasional guests. Nobody else. Ortega nodded slowly. We'll need written statements. And we may need to seize your router for analysis. Claire sprang up. I don't think that's necessary. She's been traumatized. Ortega raised a hand. We understand this is difficult, but national security is paramount. I felt my breath catch. What about Jonathan? Ortega exchanged a look with Vargas. Colonel Hayes placed the communications officer, Emily Cross, under suspicion. We found logs showing encrypted packets sent during her stay. Now we're tracing origin points. My vision blurred as the implications set in. My sister, my husband's aide, my own home network, all vectors in a leak that could derail military operations. And my life. I closed my eyes, pressing a hand to my forehead as nausea rose. When I opened them, Ortega was standing. We'll return tomorrow for your statements at the base. In the meantime, avoid altering any equipment. If you have questions, contact our public affairs officer. You may also seek counsel. He turned to leave, and Vargas followed. The front door clicked shut behind them, leaving us in a heavy silence. Claire exhaled sharply, pacing to the window. They'll be back at dawn. I sank onto the couch, head spinning. I can't. I'm not a suspect. Claire knelt beside me. They're just doing their job. If you cooperate, it'll clear your name. I shook my head. Every moment they probe, they'll uncover more lies, of Jonathan's, of Mariana's, and now, me. Outside, a low hum drifted. Generators? Patrols? The world I knew, peaceful, predictable, had been replaced by something militarized, cold. Claire stood, drawing the curtains. You should stay here tonight. I'll handle any contact. I stared at her, voice hollow. Stay? This isn't my home anymore. She closed her hand over mine. Then it's mine. You're safe here. Hours passed in a blur of whispered plans and frantic calls to military lawyers. Every potential ally seemed distant, every option fraught with risk. I lay awake on Claire's couch, mind a tangle of fear and resolve. Dawn crept in, pale and uncertain. A knock at the door jolted me back to alertness. Claire opened the door to reveal a stern-faced woman in civilian attire, briefcase in hand, public affairs officer, no doubt. Ms. Montague? The woman said. May I come in? Claire nodded, stepping aside. The woman entered, eyes flicking to me. I'm Sarah Finch, she introduced, voice warm but professional. I represent the Office of Military Public Affairs. I'm here to ensure you have information and support. I managed a shaky nod. Thank you. Finch set her briefcase on the coffee table and opened it, pulling out a folder. First, let's clarify the process. You have a right to counsel, and the investigation aims to identify the source of leaks. You are not under arrest, but your cooperation is requested. I exhaled, relief mingling with dread. Okay. What do I need to do? Finch offered a legal disclosure form. Sign this to acknowledge your rights. Then, we can review the timeline together. I took the pen with trembling fingers, scanning the document. Legal jargon danced before my eyes, but the bottom line was clear: cooperate or face uncertainty. I sighed, signing my name. I'll cooperate. Finch smiled sympathetically. Good. Now tell me everything. My voice faltered at first, then steadied as I recounted the events. My surprise visit, the discovery, the intrusion, my sister's presence. Finch listened, making notes. When I finished, she closed her folder. Thank you, Ms. Montague. I'll pass this to the investigators. In the meantime, keep documenting anything you remember. She stood, offering a card. Call me if you need assistance." After she left, Claire and I stared at her card in silence. "This is just the beginning," Claire said softly. "And I'm running out of places to hide." I glanced at the window, the morning sun now bright and unforgiving. I realized that I'd gone from unsuspecting wife to potential collaborator in espionage, all in under 24 hours. Somewhere in the haze, I heard a car approach, a familiar engine. I walked to the window, heart pounding. Mariana's cherry-red sedan rolled up the drive. She stepped out, face drawn. My breath caught. I had no idea what she would say. The sun had climbed high overhead by the time Mariana walked through Claire's front door, her eyes red-rimmed and haunted. She stopped mid-step, taking in my tear-streaked face and the tension in Claire's stance. I rose unsteadily from the couch, heart pounding. "What are you doing here?" Mariana's voice trembled. I had to explain." Claire motioned for her to sit, concern etched across her features. "Make yourself comfortable." Mariana sank into a chair, hands twisting in her lap. Her usual air of practiced confidence was gone, replaced by vulnerability. I studied her closely for any sign of the smirk that used to hide behind her eyes. She swallowed, voice bare. "I never meant for this to happen. When Emily came to me asking for somewhere to stay, she said it was confidential, that you'd understand if I helped her. She made it sound like it was part of a mission." My hands clenched at my sides. "Part of a mission? You're talking about the message leaks, the codes sent from my home." Mariana closed her eyes, nodding. "Yes, Emily showed me a folder, classified documents that needed to be moved quickly. She said if she kept them on base, Colonel Hayes would flag her. She begged me to drive them here, to store them in your router until they could be forwarded securely." My chest tightened. "You used my home as a drop point." Tears welled in my sister's eyes. "I'm sorry. I thought I was helping. She said it was for the greater good. Claire's gaze flicked between us. "Rosie." My breath caught as the memory of that day replayed. The cold weight of the router in my hands, Jonathan's uniform in the hallway, the sound of code words I didn't understand. Betrayal coursed through me as I realized how deep the deception went. Mariana's voice broke the silence. "They're going to question both of us." I swallowed hard. "They already have." She looked up, panic in her eyes. "What did you tell them?" I turned away, jaw clenched. "Everything." A heavy weight settled in my chest. The house was under investigation, my husband's career at risk, and now my sister's future hung in the balance. Claire rose and moved to the coffee table. She picked up her phone. "I need to call a lawyer, military counsel, for both of you, one step at a time." Mariana nodded, tears slipping down her cheeks. "Okay." Claire's phone buzzed with a text. She glanced down, frowning. "It's from Emily. She says the base security team found additional logs, early morning transmissions from this location the week before." My heart dropped. That was the day before my arrival. Mariana's face drained of color. She must have been here longer than I thought. The room spun as the implications multiplied. Weeks of covert activity unfolding under my roof, my sister and my sister-in-law pulling me into a net of deceit. I pressed my palms to my temples, struggling to steady my thoughts. This story took us a long time. If you like it, subscribe. Now, back to the story. Claire's hand on my shoulder grounded me as the enormity of our situation settled around us. We had no idea how high the stakes had climbed, nor how far-reaching the fallout would be. But one thing was clear: nothing would ever be the same. The afternoon light slanted through the blinds as Claire dialed the military lawyer's number, her knuckles white against the phone. Mariana and I sat on opposite ends of the couch, wounded and wary. The room hummed with tension, like a wound that refused to heal. Claire's voice was calm yet firm as she spoke into the phone. "Yes, I understand. We have two clients, Rosalind Montague and her sister, Mariana Calhoun. They need counsel." She paused, listening. "We're in Fayetteville. Can someone meet here?" "Thank you." She hung up, her shoulders sinking in relief. "They'll meet us at her office in an hour." I exhaled, feeling the first semblance of hope. Legal counsel meant we could begin to fight back. But the question that clawed at me was, fight whom? Mariana looked at me, tremor in her lip. "Do you hate me?" The question hung in the stale air. I wanted to scream, to rage, to reclaim the truth she'd stolen. But the sister who stood before me was vulnerable, a far cry from the confident showwoman I'd grown up with. I closed my eyes, pressing my fingers against my eyelids. I feel so much anger, but anger without direction is just pain. Mariana nodded, tears in her eyes. I'll accept whatever punishment comes, She swallowed, voice quivering. I never wanted you hurt. Claire placed a hand over both our hands, creating a fragile bridge between us. This is going to take time, be patient with each other. I opened my eyes, looking at my sister. We'll go through this together, but it doesn't erase what happened. She nodded. I know. The doorbell rang and Claire went to answer it. In walked two men in suits, one middle-aged with silver at his temples, the other younger, glasses perched on his nose. They introduced themselves as civilian and military legal counsel. Their presence lent gravity to the room. After introductions, they moved to the coffee table. The older one spoke first. Ms. Montague, Ms. Calhoun, our goal is to protect your rights and guide you through any proceedings. We've reviewed the preliminary reports. You're both considered witnesses, not suspects. At least for now. My heart clenched. Witnesses? I whispered. The younger lawyer adjusted his glasses. Yes. While unauthorized transmissions occurred, there's no evidence yet showing intent to compromise national security. Our focus is protocol, ensuring we can establish that neither of you knowingly participated in espionage. A flicker of relief washed over me. So it's not too late? The older lawyer nodded. We must act quickly. First, preserve all communications, texts, emails, call logs. Second, refrain from discussing the case publicly. Third, prepare written statements recounting every relevant detail. Claire scribbled notes as the lawyers outlined steps. For the first time in days, I felt some semblance of control returning. After they left, the room felt quieter, more orderly. But the knowledge that our words, our devices, our simple lives had become evidence in a military investigation lingered. Mariana rose, pacing the room. I need to tell Mom and Dad. She stopped at the window, looking out. They raised me to protect family. I can't bear telling them I let someone use their daughter against her own sister. I stood beside her, sharing the view but not the comfort. Our parents may not understand right away, but we need their support now more than ever. Her shoulders hunched. You're braver than I am. I shrugged, voice soft. We're in this together. Hours passed in a haze of legal prep, document gathering, statement drafting, counseling sessions. The afternoon waned into evening, and Claire brought us dinner, simple sandwiches and soup, eaten in silence. We allowed ourselves a brief respite before bed. Lying on her guest bed, I stared at the ceiling, mind racing. How had my life unraveled so quickly? A day ago, I was planning a surprise. Now, I was fighting to prove my innocence and save my sister's future. Sleep came fitfully, dreams fractured by whispered voices and flashing lights. When morning arrived, my phone buzzed with a text from Jonathan, "Miss you." My heart seized. I stared at the screen, torn between longing and the cold weight of betrayal. Another text, "Please call." I sank onto the bed, thumb hovering over his name. Then I heard Claire's voice outside the door. "Rosie, wake up, they're here." I shook off the haze, swinging my legs over the bed. The knock on the door was firm. Claire opened it to reveal Captain Ortega and Lieutenant Vargas, their uniforms neat. They entered without preamble, businesslike, authoritative. Ortega nodded. "Miss Montague, we're here to escort you to the base for your statement." He glanced at Mariana, then back at me. "Ladies." My heart hammered, but I rose. Mariana joined me, flanking us like a united front. I drew a deep breath. This was the next act, another interrogation, another passage through scrutiny. Captain Ortega offered his arm. I took it, feeling the weight of the uniform anchor me to this moment. As we stepped outside, the dawn light was pale but steady. The path ahead was uncertain. But I stepped forward, sister by my side, determined to reclaim the narrative of our lives. Sitting across from Colonel Hayes in the sterile briefing room felt surreal, like stepping into a twilight zone where my worst nightmares married military precision. The walls were gray metal panels, screens blank, and the only furnishing was a glass table with metal chairs. My heart thudded as I and Mariana took our seats, flanked by our lawyers. Claire sat beside me, gathering strength from her presence. Colonel Hayes entered, his posture rigid, silver rank bars gleaming. His gaze swept the room, pausing on me. "Ms. Montague," he said, voice as crisp as his uniform. "We appreciate your cooperation." I swallowed. "Thank you, sir." He nodded, turning to a screen that flickered alive with scrolling code. "These transmissions represent a breach of secure channels. They originated from your home network over a period of weeks. We need your account of how these devices were accessed." I glanced at my lawyers, then back at the colonel. The first time was before I arrived. Emily was staying at my house and asked Mariana to store some files. I didn't know they were encrypted transmissions. Colonel Hayes watched me, eyes unblinking. "Encrypted documents of military intelligence. That implicates both these ladies in a serious security violation." He gestured at Mariana. "Miss Calhoun? Care to explain your involvement?" Mariana took a shuddering breath. "Sir, I was misled. Emily told me it was part of a legitimate operation. If I'd known it risked national security, I would never have agreed." Hayes remained impassive. "Intent doesn't negate consequence. Unauthorized disclosure can mean death for pilots in the field." My stomach clenched at the weight of his words. Death. I'd never considered how grave this could be. I reached for Mariana's hand under the table, squeezing. A military lawyer cleared his throat. "With your permission, Colonel, I'd like to review their statements and propose leniency based on cooperation." Hayes narrowed his eyes. "Proceed." The lawyer spoke quietly to Mariana and then turned to the colonel, outlining their cooperation and lack of harmful intent. Hayes listened, jaw clenched. Finally, he exhaled, stepping back. "This inquiry will remain open, but your cooperation is noted. Further detainment is unnecessary at this time. Ms. Montague, Ms. Calhoun, you are ordered to refrain from discussing this case with anyone outside legal counsel." He shut off the screen. Dismissed. The room emptied, leaving us stunned in the echoing silence. Claire exhaled dramatically, brushing a tear from her cheek. I rose, voice small. "Thank you, Colonel." He inclined his head before exiting. Mariana stood, legs shaky. "So we're free?" The military lawyer closed his folder. "For now. You'll receive a formal notice of inquiry and possible charges. But your cooperation may mitigate their severity." I nodded, relief mingled with lingering dread. "Thank you." In the hall, reporters snapped photos through the glass. News of the breach making headlines. The world watched, eager for scandal. My phone buzzed. A message from Jonathan, urgent call needed. My chest tightened. There were 2 urgent fronts: clearing our names and salvaging my marriage. I slipped away from my sister and Claire, finding an empty corridor. I dialed Jonathan's number, voice trembling. "Jonathan, we need to talk." His voice on the line was strained. "Ross, I'm sorry, everything's out of control, but I love you. Please come find me after hours, we need to fix this." I closed my eyes, steadying myself. "Okay." He gave me an address, a quiet cafe near the base. We hung up. I returned to Claire and Mariana, who were packing their things. The world outside buzzed with scrutiny, but inside our small circle, a fragile calm held. As we walked back to the car, I realized the strength of our bond, tested by betrayal, war, and secrets, had endured. Yet I couldn't ignore the ache in my chest. The road ahead was uncertain. When we reached Claire's car, I looked at Mariana. "Stay safe, I'll update you tonight." She nodded, tears in her eyes. Claire reached for my hand. "Whatever happens next, I'm with you." I set my jaw. "Then let's go fix things." The sun dipped low as I drove toward the cafe, shadows stretching across the roads. I fought to steady my breath. After everything, betrayal, investigation, the threat of charges, I still clung to hope of reconciliation. And as I turned the corner, the neon sign of the cafe flickered into view. The cafe's neon sign buzzed as I stepped inside, my heart pounding so loudly I thought it might drown out the soft murmur of conversation. The warm glow of Edison bulbs cast a golden haze over the cozy space, and the aroma of freshly brewed coffee wrapped around me like a familiar hug. I spotted Jonathan at a corner table. He stood as I approached, face etched with exhaustion and regret. I slid into the seat across from him. He reached for my hand, fingers cool and firm. "Rosie, thank you for coming." His eyes flickered to mine, pleading. I took a steadying breath. "Why didn't you tell me? Why involve Emily like that?" My voice barely rose above a whisper, but it trembled with pain. Jonathan swallowed. I was trying to protect you. The mission was top priority. If I had refused, I could have compromised everyone's safety. Emily's request seemed minor, just transferring data. I thought it would be harmless. But when things went sideways, I realized how wrong I was. His words landed like stones. "And so you lied? Hid her here? Let my sister risk her future? Let me return to a nest of spies?" My chest tightened as anger bubbled up. He flinched, nodding. "I made mistakes, big ones. But I never stopped loving you. You're everything to me." I studied his face, searching for truth. The Jonathan I loved, the one who held me on the chapel steps, who kissed me beneath the pines, was still there, buried under the weight of duty and deception. A waitress approached, refilling our coffees. I thanked her absently, watching Jonathan's shoulders slump as she left. "What now?" I asked, voice low. He exhaled deeply. "I've spoken to my commanding officer. Hayes has agreed to provide a character witness, if we can show this was circumstantial, not malicious. It's a long shot, but—" I closed my eyes. "Roz, this isn't just about your reputation. It's about mine, my job as a journalist, my standing in the community. If they think I knowingly participated, I lose everything." My words tumbled out, raw. Jonathan reached across the table, brushing a strand of hair from my face. His touch was gentle, apologetic. "I know, and I'll do whatever it takes to make this right." He paused, eyes dark. "Claire found something. Evidence that the leak wasn't just localized. There are signs someone external orchestrated it. Maybe Emily wasn't acting alone." My breath caught. "You think someone set this up?" He nodded grimly. "If so, they used us as pawns. But that means we can fight back. Find the real culprit." His jaw clenched. "I promise I'll find out who did this." I stared at him, hope and fear warring within me. "All right, I'll help, but if you betray me again—" I let the sentence hang. Jonathan's hand tightened on mine. "Never." We sat in silence, plotting our next move, gathering evidence, interrogating Emily and Mariana under legal counsel, tracing digital footprints. Every plan hinged on time, before the inquiry concluded. Outside, the sun dipped beneath the horizon, street lamps flickering on. The cafe's neon sign reflected in the window, a beacon in encroaching darkness. I rose, hand still in Jonathan's. "Let's go home, we have work to do." He nodded, rising to sweep my hand toward the door. As we stepped onto the sidewalk, I felt the weight of every path ahead. Repairing my marriage, defending my freedom, unmasking a conspirator. I braced myself, breath steady. The night air was cool, promising both dread and determination. And as I walked beside him, I held one truth close. No one would betray me again without facing the consequences. But I didn't yet know the true cost of that promise. Keitel. Late that night, I sat at my laptop in the guest room. Lines of code and transcripts sprawled across the screen. My fingers hovered over the keyboard, hesitating. The documents Claire had scanned were a tangle of military jargon and hidden pathways to something much larger than a simple misdelivery. Jonathan knocked softly and entered, closing the door behind him. He looked exhausted, suit rumpled, eyes bloodshot. "Did you find anything?" he asked quietly, moving to sit beside me. I slid the chair around to face him. "Maybe. These logs show unauthorized logins from an external IP address. Someone spoofed the router's MAC address to look like ours. They weren't inside the network, they were masked as insiders." His eyes widened. "So it wasn't Mariana or Emily, it was someone setting them up." "Exactly." I scrolled through lines of code. "This address traces back to a VPN server in London, but it's been flagged by military intelligence before. I checked a forum. Someone used it to attempt data exfiltration during an operation last year." He leaned forward, reading over my shoulder. If we can prove that they masked the network, we can shift blame away from us. Claire's face appeared in the doorway. She stepped inside and closed the door behind her. Military lawyer says you both need to be careful. The inquiry is moving faster than expected. They're convening a review board next week. My heart sank. Next week. Jonathan exhaled, running a hand through his hair. We need more evidence. Hard proof. I nodded. I'm going to call Emily. She's the only one who set up those transmissions. Maybe she remembers something. Passwords, times, any clue. He hesitated. Do you trust her? I took a deep breath. Not entirely, but she might know more than she's letting on. Right now, she's the closest link to the data. Claire stepped closer. Be careful. She's scared. Someone might have threatened her. If you push too hard, she might panic and destroy evidence. I closed my laptop. I know. I grabbed my phone and dialed Emily. It rang 4 times before her voice, fragile but wary, came through. Rosie? Emily, I need your help. I know you didn't mean to involve me in this, but I need the truth. Her breath caught. I don't know everything. I just did what I was told. Who told you? I pressed softly. There was a pause. I can't. I'm protected by confidentiality. But the colonel, he said it was urgent. Said I had orders. Jonathan's jaw clenched. Colonel Hayes? Did he give you direct orders? Emily's voice quivered. He said it was critical to national security. Discretion paramount. He never mentioned you or your sister. He told me to deliver the files and leave. Where did he say to leave them? I demanded. At the Montague home. He said transfer would pick up later. I exchanged a glance with Jonathan. No, Emily, he wouldn't risk it without a secure channel. There's something you're not telling. I can't, her voice broke. They'll kill me if I talk. Silence crackled. Who's they? Emily's sob echoed through the phone. I don't know, but they're spending millions to cover this up. I'm sorry, Rosie. I can't help more. She hung up. The line went dead. I stared at my phone, chest tightening. Someone was orchestrating this, spinning a web of lies and threats to keep the truth buried. Claire gently squeezed my arm. We need to go to the forum, see who else posted about that VPN address. I nodded. Let's go. 2 hours later, we gathered in the living room, Claire scrolling through posts on her tablet, Jonathan at my side, and Mariana leaning against the doorway, pale but resolute. Here, Claire said, pointing, user FalconEye posted about the VPN being used to intercept mission logs. The post mentions a, quote, fixer who organized the drop-off. I read the screen. Need to secure intel footprints. Contact FalconFix for covert ops. My pulse raced. FalconFix, likely an alias. But the server logs show a pattern. He's been active for months. If we can identify him, we might have our culprit. Jonathan grabbed a notepad. I can pull military intel on FalconEye's last known hack. If I cross-reference with this, we might find a real name. Claire tapped her tablet. I'm also digging through encrypted threads. People nervous about a leak. Some mention the colonel and the sisters. She looked at Mariana. They know what happened at your house. Mariana swallowed, voice small. Then they know our names. The weight of exposure settled in the room. I stood. We need physical evidence. The router logs, the hard drives Claire copied, everything. Sent to a secure third-party digital forensics lab. John nodded. I have a contact in Cyber Command who can help. Claire exhaled. This is it. We have a path. I stepped toward the window, looking out at the dark streets. But time is running out. A sudden rap at the front door jolted us. Jonathan stiffened. Who is it? Claire peeked through the curtains. A courier. He has a sealed envelope for you, Ms. Montague. My blood ran cold. I opened the door to find a young man in a gray suit, briefcase in hand. Without a word, he handed me the envelope and turned, leaving as silently as he came. The envelope bore no name, only my return address. Inside was a single sheet of paper, typed, "Stop digging, or the next leak won't be just data." A chill ran down my spine. Jonathan took the note, voice grim. They're watching us. Mariana's eyes filled with fear. They'll kill us if we don't stop. Claire's jaw set. Then we don't stop. We fight. I clenched the note in my hand, heart pounding. They won't win. The room held its breath. a storm gathering at our backs. And as the night deepened, I realized this wasn't just about vindication anymore. It was a fight for our lives. The conspiracy stretched wider than I imagined, and every step we took dug us deeper into the shadows. But I would not be silenced. We gathered around Claire's kitchen island under the soft glow of pendant lights, our war room littered with legal papers, court orders, and forensic reports. The courier's threat lay on the counter like a ticking bomb, reminding us that this battle was no longer academic. It was life or death. "We need a secure location to share the forensic results," Claire said, her finger tracing lines on a printed spreadsheet. "The lab found evidence of tampering on the router's firmware. Someone rewrote the bootloader to mask packets. That matches the London VPN logs." Jonathan ran a hand through his hair. "That clears our involvement, technically, but it also points to malicious intent by an outside actor. We need to identify who had both the skill and the motive." Mariana frowned. "Who outside our circle would know about the Montague home and have access to that level of hacking knowledge?" I moved to the whiteboard where we'd listed suspects: military personnel with grudges, intelligence contractors, foreign operatives. One name keeps resurfacing: Falcon Fix. He's likely a battlefield fix-it guy hired to cover traces. If we can find out who contracted him... Claire tapped her tablet. I found a payment trail. Crypto transactions from an unmarked wallet to Falcon Fix across multiple dates. The wallet was funded by an account under the name Harrison & Cole Consulting. "Harrison & Cole," I said, drawing a blank. "A private defense contractor based in D.C., Claire continued. "They handle Black Ops support. Their clients include high-level Pentagon offices." My pulse raced. If they're behind this, it means someone in the Pentagon wanted these transmissions buried and us framed. Jonathan's brow furrowed. "One name comes to mind: Assistant Secretary Vaughn. He clashed with our base commander over resource allocation. He's got both motive and reach." Mariana covered her mouth. "He's powerful. Exposing him would be dangerous." I swallowed. "Dangerous, yes, but necessary. If we can't trust the chain of command, who can we trust?" Claire exhaled, pacing. "We need hard evidence linking Harrison and Cole to this wallet. Then we go public. Journalistic exposure combined with formal complaint to oversight committees." Jonathan looked at me, concern and determination mingling in his gaze. "Rosie, this is your domain. If anyone can make the world see, it's you." A sharp rap on the door cut through the tension. My heart leaped. Claire stood still as Jonathan crossed to open it. In stepped a tall figure in a long coat, an investigative journalist, badge clipped to his lapel. He surveyed the room. "Ms. Montague, I'm Adrian Shaw with the Daily Sentinel. I got a tip about your story. Mind if I talk to you?" Claire blocked his path. "This is private." He flashed his press pass. "I'm on record. I think this could be the story of the decade. Cover-ups at the Pentagon, espionage, betrayal." I stepped forward, voice firm. "Give me 1 hour, then you can write whatever you want if I survive this." Adrian nodded, respect in his eyes. "You'll have everything you need. I'll come back in an hour." As he left, Claire whispered, "No more surprise visits." I returned to the whiteboard. 1 hour isn't much time, but enough to gather documents. "Jonathan, can you get the transaction records from Claire's files into a single dossier? Mariana, call your contacts at the Pentagon Oversight Committee. Claire and I will draft the exposé outline." For the next hour, we worked in a frenzy. Documents printed, notes scribbled, emails fired off. The clock ticked down to Adrian's return, and with each passing minute, the weight of our plan pressed heavier. When the doorbell rang again, I took a deep breath. Claire opened the door to reveal Adrian, camera crew in tow. I led him to the kitchen island, where the dossier lay. "Adrian, this is everything. Transaction logs, VPN data, tampered firmware evidence. We believe Assistant Secretary Vaughn contracted Harrison and Cole to obfuscate intelligence breaches and pin it on me." He ran a hand through his hair, eyes blazing. This is explosive. If we publish this, it could bring down agencies." I nodded, voice steady. "Exactly. And we have to do it tonight, before the review board meets." The crew set up cameras as I outlined the narrative: the surprise visit, discovery of Emily, the security breach, the pattern of VPN logs, the shell contractor, the likely Pentagon official behind it all. Adrian listened, then posed his first question: "Why you, Ms. Montague? Why would they choose your home to stage this?" I looked him in the eye. Because I was the perfect scapegoat, an innocent wife tied to a military base. They knew no one would question it until it was too late. Lights glowed warmly as the cameras rolled. I spoke of betrayal, resilience, the quest for truth. Each sentence was a declaration. I would not be silenced. Behind me, Clara adjusted the lights. Jonathan's hand found mine, a silent pledge of solidarity. As the interview concluded, Adrian whispered, "This will run at midnight." My heart raced. "Thank you. Let's hope it's enough." Claire closed the dossier. Now we wait and prepare for the fallout. Outside, the night air pressed against windows. Inside, we held our breath, standing at the edge of revelation and ruin. The tension in Claire's living room was electric as midnight approached. The final edits of Adrian's exposé were uploaded, queued for publication. We clustered around a laptop, the screen displaying a countdown clock. 0 hours, 5 minutes, and 12 seconds. My heart pounded in my ears. Mariana hugged herself, eyes glazed with worry. What if they retaliate? I can't go back to work while this runs. Jonathan placed a steadying hand on her shoulder. You'll be protected under whistleblower statutes, and we have Claire's legal team on standby. I rubbed my palms against my jeans, mind racing through every possible outcome. Director Vaughn's fall could be swift, but retribution could come first. 2 minutes, Claire whispered, eyes fixed on the countdown. I turned to her, voice soft. Claire, no matter what happens, thank you. I couldn't have done this without you. Claire gave a small smile, tears in her eyes. We're family. She pressed a key, and the screen refreshed. Published. Adrian exhaled. It's live. We leaned in as the article loaded. The headline glowed across the page. Exclusive. Wife of Air Force captain exposes Pentagon cover-up linking intelligence leak to senior official. The first comments appeared within seconds. Shock, support, disbelief. News outlets already tweeted links. My phone lit up with notifications. I swallowed hard, looking at the faces around me, my husband, my sister, my best friend, united for a cause that transcended personal pain. A sudden buzz sounded at the door. We spun, and Claire's legal counsel hurried in, phone to his ear. They're here, FBI, military police, and Vaughn's office. They're shutting down operations, demanding interviews. My stomach dropped. The law enforcement presence I'd feared had arrived, but this time we were not the hunted. We were witnesses and whistleblowers. Jonathan sat beside me, voice low. Stay calm, our attorneys are on the way. I inhaled, voice firm. Let them come. Moments later, the front door burst open. Agents in suits and badges flooded in, followed by uniformed officers. A woman with an FBI lapel pin held up a hand. Ms. Montague? Special Agent Harris, we need your statement. Claire and the lawyers took control, ushering us into the adjacent room. I felt my knees go weak. Mariana whispered, I'm scared. I squeezed her hand. We're doing the right thing. Agent Harris reviewed the published exposé, glancing at her team. This substantiates our preliminary findings. We're opening an official investigation into Assistant Secretary Vaughn and Harrison and Cole. You'll all need to give detailed statements. Relief and anxiety warred within me. Relief that the truth was official, anxiety for the fallout's personal costs. I nodded. I understand. Time blurred as we gave statements. Claire and her team ensuring we had representation. The agents collected digital evidence, statements transcribed. By dawn, the house was silent again. The storm had hit, and we weathered it. Outside, news vans lined the street, cameras trained on our windows. I stepped onto the porch, the morning chill stiffening the air. Jonathan joined me, hands in pockets, eyes tired but resolute. He wrapped an arm around me. You did it. I leaned into him, resting my head on his shoulder. The world felt surreal, exposed yet liberated. Mariana emerged beside us, Claire just behind. We stood together, watching the sunrise chase shadows from the earth. I drew a steady breath. No matter what happens next, we're stronger together. My sister nodded, tears shining. We'll face it, together. Jonathan kissed the top of my head. Our family. And as the dawn broke, I realized this chapter wasn't just about exposing corruption. It was about reclaiming our lives, our bonds, and our truth. The final confrontation loomed, but for the first time in weeks, hope grounded me. The courtroom buzzed like an anxious hive as Assistant Secretary Vaughn took the stand, his tailored suit crisp beneath the glare of courtroom lights. Rows of reporters scribbled in notebooks, cameras whirring like mechanical bees, and the gallery pulsed with silent anticipation. I sat next to Jonathan, our hands entwined on the edge of the defense table, lawyers flanking us, Mariana and Claire close behind. Judge Moretti entered, tapping her gavel. The room hushed instantly. Tension hummed in the silence. Vaughn cleared his throat, adjusting his tie, eyes flickering toward us with practiced confidence. The prosecutor rose, voice echoing, "Assistant Secretary Vaughn, did you authorize Harrison and Cole to perform covert operations to mask an intelligence leak by framing Ms. Montague?" Vaughn's posture remained erect, voice smooth as silk. "No, Your Honor. I had no knowledge of any such activities." A murmur ran through the courtroom. I gripped Jonathan's hand, steel locking in my spine. The prosecutor pulled up a slide, a chain of emails from Vaughn's official account to a consultant at Harrison and Cole, the date stamped 2 weeks before the breach. Vaughn's face paled. Prosecutor zoomed in. "Is this your signature, sir?" Vaughn's throat bobbed. "I do not recall sending that." The lawyer beside me whispered, "This is it." Over the next hours, the evidence unfolded like dominoes. Financial records, server logs, witness testimony from Harrison and Cole's lead operative, and even Emily's sworn affidavit detailing her fear-driven involvement. When Emily took the stand, pale but resolute, her voice trembled as she recounted Vaughn's orders. Vaughn's defense faltered under cross-examination, his carefully constructed facade cracking. By afternoon, Judge Moretti leaned forward. "After reviewing the evidence, this court finds sufficient grounds to charge Assistant Secretary Vaughn with conspiracy and obstruction of justice. Bail is set at $1 million. He is remanded into custody pending trial." A collective gasp rose from the gallery. Vaughn, face drained, was led away in cuffs. I exhaled, tears stinging. Jonathan held me tight. Mariana wiped her eyes beside me. Claire's grip on my arm was fierce. Outside the courthouse, cameras exploded into life. Reporters clamored for statements. I stepped forward, heart pounding. I lifted a hand, calling for attention. "Thank you all for being here. Today, justice was served. But this victory belongs to the resilience of truth and the courage to speak out. I was the face of this story, but it was built on the bravery of so many. Emily's testimony, Claire's support, my sister's remorse, and Jonathan's unwavering faith." Microphones swarmed, flashbulbs popped. I took a steady breath. This shouldn't be about me. It should be a reminder that no one is beyond accountability. We owe it to each other to stand for what's right. Reporters clamored questions, but I had said what mattered. Later, as we walked away, Claire raised her phone. She captured a silent moment. 4 figures united against power and betrayal. Jonathan draped an arm around my shoulders. "You changed everything." I leaned into him, voice quiet. "We changed everything." Mariana squeezed my hand. "Thank you for not giving up." Claire nodded, eyes shining. "Best story ever." We stepped into the waning sunlight, the courthouse behind us, the future ahead. And as I looked at the faces that mattered, family forged in crisis, I realized this was not the end, but a beginning. 2 more great stories are next. Don't miss them. Subscribe and turn on notifications.